And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining Pugsley's Pit this week. I am Sean Pugsley Martin, welcoming you to the pit, asking you the question, our weekly question, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? By way of introduction, I am a freelance sports writer for the Albany Times-Union, a sports enthusiast, a big-time homer for my sports teams. Can also be found as co-host of the M&M Across the Board podcast on a weekly basis with my good friends Ashley and Eric. You can follow the show on Twitter at Pugsley's Pit and taking the podcast on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. On today's show, we're going to dive right into the topic going on out in the Bay Area, the stadium issue with the Oakland Athletics. Going to be joined by our guest, Aaron Wright of the East Oakland Stadium Alliance. And then after we talked to Aaron for a little bit, we're going to get into the MLB lockout, which just has me having dents in my head from listening to the updates or non-updates, as it were. But we'll get to that in a little bit. And then we'll also talk just a little college hockey as well. But for now, Aaron Wright, good afternoon or good morning for you.
Yeah, it's getting there. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How's everything with you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Got a good walk in the redwoods today. It's sunny. It's 65 out here. I'm making you jealous. I'm trying to make you jealous.
Hey, I had that yesterday, and the snow was gone. So I'm pretty happy with that. So let's talk stadium. To recap and correct me, I'm in Albany, New York. You're out in the Bay Area. You know this topic probably a lot better than I do. Couple discussions going on. You got Las Vegas out in the peripheral, the Howard Terminal project. The your alliance is trying to support building a new stadium for the A's, keeping them in Oakland, which to me is the bottom line, right? But putting it at the site of the Coliseum now. Just can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, to start, I just want people to know, I was born and raised in Oakland. And as we briefly discussed, I used to go to the games when I was a kid back in the day. Really enjoyed A's games, enjoyed the idea of having and I understand the civic fan support of the A's. It's unfortunate, though, because the owner is actually really pushing the city to get a huge amounts of money and land for the team in order to stay. And it's really unconscionable. The bill at this point is starting to reach $1.355 billion for all the infrastructure and stadium being built, the luxury condos they want to build in our port. The East Oakland Stadium Alliance is a alliance of industries that got together along with residents from East Oakland to keep the A's in East Oakland. Have them rebuild at the Coliseum site, which is 3 times larger, 150 acres at the Coliseum versus 50 acres at Howard Terminal. And all the existing infrastructure is there. The BART station is less than a quarter mile away. The nearest BART station to Howard Terminal is a mile away. You have ample parking. There's room to grow. There's room to build housing and condos and hotels and whatever they want to build over there. There really isn't that kind of room in the port next to industrial operations. So, I come from the perspective of the port. I'm a longshoreman. I've been a longshoreman for 30 plus years. I started working down there in 1987. It's the 5th largest port in the United States, 3rd largest port on the West Coast, I believe. And in this time of supply chains, we don't need residential condos springing up in the port lands to in conflict with industrial operations. Industrial operations are loud. There is some pollution that comes from them. even though that we've greened up the industry quite a bit. Like the ships come in, they plug in. The diesel machines have been turned. A lot of them have been turned into hybrids and whatnot. There's still some pollution. We have traffic issues, and to explain our port, if you could think of a crescent moon, Howard Terminal. The reason why it's such a key nexus for us is because it's at the tip of the moon, and the ship traffic goes right by that tip. The train traffic goes right by that tip, and so does the truck traffic. So you couldn't put it in a worse place as far as from train, truck, and ship traffic perspective. It's just an anathema to our operations and having a strong port.
What's the motivation down there? Are they trying to recapture what the scenic view that the Giants have across the bay? I mean, what else? What other reason would it be there? Because in reading up on your topic, you're talking about losing a lot of unionized jobs down there. You might pick up some on the retail side, but a lot of people may be out of work. Is that part of all this?
Yeah. So, I mean, this whole, I've been working on this since 2019. It's a really big subject. As far as their motivation, honestly, from most of the people working on this, the A's came into this saying they would pay for it themselves with private funding. They said they would have a community benefits package. There'd be affordable housing. They said that they would build it, making it compatible with the port. But time and again, through this entire process, they have basically just not come through. The EIR that was voted up by the city the other day, a couple of weeks ago, it does not provide for any of the concerns that the port maritime industry stakeholders have concerns. Those concerns were not addressed in that. I know people on the community benefits side were very unhappy with what the A's proposed, and the A's didn't even want to put any of their own money into that. There is no affordable housing in Oakland. That's just a joke. They've really fallen short. And then you have the mayor just pushing this. And the price tag is just ballooned. The price tag as of the EIR was proposed $855 million. They would create a tax district like the Giants. And I mean, that's almost $1 billion, right? And then just last week or a week or so ago, the mayor pulled another $500 million out of thin air for this thing. Some of it will be state funding. And so, this is at a time when they're talking about closing down Oakland schools and selling off the land. The homelessness problem in the Bay Area is just the worst I've ever seen it. There's garbage everywhere. There's potholes in the street. And they're talking about putting going into debt over $1 billion over this. It's just crazy to me. As much as I love the A's, used to love to watch them, go see their games, I just, economically, as far as our jobs are concerned, as far as what's beneficial to the Port of Oakland, Oakland itself, and East Oakland, the A's are using the fact that they're the A's and the love that the people have for the A's as leverage to get what they want out of the city.
Is it how much heat is the mayor Scharf under, given the fact that the Warriors moved across the bay and the Raiders moved to Vegas?
I didn't hear the first part of that question.
How much heat is the mayor under, given that the Warriors went to San Francisco and the Raiders are out in Nevada?
I can truly understand her motivation in the sense that she doesn't want to be the first mayor to lose 3 teams. I get that as far as the motivation, but I don't think that that's her, primary drive. The amount of politicians aside from the mayor swinging for this, because they had to get a Democrat, Nancy Skinner Berkeley, to write a bill to allow for the tax financing district. They had to get the Bontas to pass a bill because port land is public land to do a land swap. They had another bill, and I'm fuzzy on the details of it, by another Buffy Wicks, all Democrats. So the mayor is in league with a number of politicians, and there's quite a few city council that are just right in league with this too. So, I mean, if you put this on a referendum, I don't think it would pass. You know, there's enough concerns for the city of Oakland and its population that, you know, they would not want to see this amount of money put into it.
Do you have any polling, any research that suggests residents of the area that are going to have to foot the bill for this, would they prefer at the site of the current Coliseum or down in Howard Terminal, or let them go?
The East Oakland Stadium Alliance actually did do a poll. It was over a year ago, so I'm fuzzy on the exact numbers. Probably have it on the website, but it showed that most Oakland residents wanted to keep the A's at the Coliseum.
Okay. Is there?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish up.
Oh, well, and then, I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of people don't really understand the scope of what's going on. You know, it's very shallow. You know, are the A's going to stay? Are they not? Are they going to build this? You know, they have these glossy, you know, photos or pictures, renderings of the stadium, and you know, they see that, oh, that would be cool. You know, we're going to invest in the area and we're going to bring jobs. And, you know, I mean, if you look at East Oakland, there's less businesses in and around the stadium now than there was when you and I were young and going there, you know?
Yeah.
So the A's don't necessarily bring economic prosperity to the region. You know, if you look at their history here, you know, it's really a land grab. It's really a real estate deal. I was told by city council people that the A's are buying up land all over the city. The amount of money they want to put into that area, it's not just going to be Howard Terminal. I've seen their downtown plan. The downtown plan is basically blocks and blocks of condos. To go back to the San Francisco Giants thing, and the reason why you know, the motivation for this is you basically have cheaper land and politicians willing to give public land to the A's in and around West Oakland BART. And if they can develop all that area, it's actually West Oakland BART is closer to downtown San Francisco than a lot of places in San Francisco, right? So they see this as this like huge opportunity to developers build up these condo complexes and have populations, you know, able to catch BART real quick over to the city. Which, you know, not to get too off subject, but you know, San Francisco is not doing well with the tech industry leaving. Most people are working from home now. They wouldn't even have been able to pay. I'm just questioning the whole premise of it now. You know, they wouldn't even have been able to pay their bills if they hadn't been bailed out by the Biden administration recently.
Okay.
And
so
business is closing down. It's terrible over there.
How much smoke is the Las Vegas trip? What really bothered me last year was you have an A's game going on in the Coliseum, and Dave Cavall's showing video on Twitter. He's at a Las Vegas Golden Knights playoff game. That to me is almost, yeah. I don't like the way they handle it. I'm not a big John Fisher. I can't stand John Fisher. I think John Fisher's everything's wrong with Major League Baseball right now. He's a billionaire that runs it like a thousandaire. He's not invested. It doesn't seem like emotionally in his team. He's invested in the bottom line. And to me, sports, you have to have a little give and take. Is Vegas a real option here?
Well, on the John Fisher end and the way they run the team, they really use A's as a kind of a player farm. They draft in players, draft in players, they build them up and then sell them off.
Yeah.
They never really go for the pennants or World Series. They're not trying, in my opinion, to win. That's their basically their motivation in it, as far as baseball. But I'll tell you, like I talked about how they said they wanted a compatible port, a stadium that was compatible with the port, but then they have no overpasses for the design for the railroad tracks. And, for the ships to turn there, they would have to widen the turning bases because the ships are getting bigger and bigger all the time. And then there's no real plans for the trucks to get out of the area. There's no parking plan. There's no transportation to get the fans in and out. So it's really a watered down plan. I don't see how you're going to have thousands of pedestrians and semi trucks crossing each other at the same time. And it just kind of illustrates the duplicitous nature of this whole thing. For example, another example of it is there's a BCDC, it's the Bay Conservation Development Commission. And in order for all this to go through, they would have to sign off on it. Well, Dave Cavall said he wanted a compatible port and preserve jobs, but then at the BCDC argued to automate the port jobs, which of course was really upsetting to all of us, and it would cost billions of dollars. It's not something the shippers are even interested in doing at this point.
Yeah.
Right. So as far as tying that into Vegas, I mean, who knows what he's doing? He's willing to lie and bullface lies to the public to sell his stadium, to push it by any means necessary, in my opinion, and playing the Vegas card. It gives him strength. It's like a leverage against the city council to get him to go his way.
Do you think that Fisher wants to keep the team in the Bay? Because to me, once that door opened to Vegas, I thought they were gone. And the fact that we're still talking Oakland is encouraging to me because there's a lot of money in Vegas. Do you think he deep down wants to stay?
I think the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yeah.
I think that's all that motivates him. That's my personal opinion, from what I've seen. And I've been working on this for 3 years. So, we started in 2019. And it just seems to me like they want, because their original plan was they have half of the Coliseum land, which is 75 acres. They wanted all of the Coliseum land and Howard Terminal. So that would be 200 acres of Oakland's prime real estate. Plus they want to build condos, plus government funding. I mean, if they can get all that here, why not? Right? If you were this rich billionaire owner and you're just out to, scheme and make some money, if he can get it, why not? Right?
Money finds money, right?
He'll go to Vegas.
Is there a concern that the conflict between the Alliance and Howard Terminal, that it might divide and not get a uniform idea on what to do and the team leaves?
Well, I can tell you that East Oakland Stadium Alliance we don't want the A's to leave, but as a civic and industry led group, I mean, there are different interests involved, obviously, but I see it. I kind of see it as the A's, if they don't get what they want, if they don't get their way, they're going to go.
Yeah.
And Mayor Libby Schaaf told us in one meeting, because I've met with all these politicians. I've met them all multiple times, many times. And I mean, at one meeting, Mayor Schaaf, I'll paraphrase, she said, there's no deal but Howard Terminal. This was a couple of years. I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was like we were all looking at each other like, really? There's no plan B here, if this doesn't work out. And she, by the way, she's the boss of all the city staff who have been working on this project. So a lot of money has already gone into this from the city. And she's the boss of the port directors, right? So right early in this process, the old port director, he took a leave of absence, or not leave of absence, he resigned. He stepped down because the industry, the trucking industry, the train industry, and the shipping industry, the longshoremen, we all were meeting in these port efficiency task force, and we developed plans to get truckers off of city streets, and Howard Terminal was part of that plan. Right now, we use Howard Terminal to stage trucks, to keep them off the city streets at night, so truckers can stage their trucks and not be on the freeway during rush hour. It's incredibly beneficial, and we're even starting a new operation of stacking containers in Howard Terminal to store them, because with the supply chain issues, we're running out of space in the port. It's been estimated up to 300,000 trucks a year go in and out of the Howard Terminal. So it's by no means a dead terminal. The ILWU, the International Longshore Warehouse Union, similar to the ILA on the East Coast there, we have our training facilities on Howard Terminal. So it just goes on and on. We really have a strong interest in keeping it. And we were open to some idea of a compatible development with the port, but that did not bear fruit in the actual EIR that was passed.
If they build Howard Terminal, what happens to the old Coliseum site, even the basketball arena?
So my understanding right now, and if I'm not exact, please but the county and the city of Oakland were partners. So the county owned half and the city of Oakland owns half. The county has agreed through the course of all of this, to help fund the whole project, and basically sold 75 acres to the A's at what we call a fire sale price. Like $1 million an acre, 75 million, I think they sold it for. So they got it with no bids. It was basically gift. And then the A's came back to the county, Alameda County, and asked for money, basically the amount of money that they paid for the land, right? So it's a giveaway to John Fisher, that half of it. The other half of it, we're hearing that one of the city council members, Rebecca Kaplan, and a black conglomeration of sports team owners are trying to get like a WNBA team or something going in there.
I've heard that.
I haven't followed that. To be honest with you, I have not followed that as closely as I follow some of this other stuff. But it doesn't sound like it's going to pan out for the A's to get the entire thing if this the other sports team owners come in.
If you had to guess right now, what do you think happens of the three options?
I mean, with the amount of politicians on board with this, and even the governor is helping John Fisher. You have, like I said, the Bontas, they're like in the assembly of the government, Sacramento government. Then you got the city politicians involved. It's looking bad, the fact that they voted up that EIR. We're going to keep fighting this.
Yeah,
we're going to fight tooth and nail even if they do stay and thing built, we have to try to secure the turning circle for the ships, some overpasses for the trains to be able to run freely through there, and a truck corridor. We have to save the port. My fear now, the amount of money, the $1.355 billion, and which will probably even get bigger because this just keeps ballooning. That's going into this. I don't see an end to their taking of the port lands. This is just the beginning. They want to build that entire West Oakland. This will basically privatize the port, take it from public ownership to private ownership. Once you put residences next door to industrial operations, that never goes well for industry. I believe even the mayor, right before the EIR vote, the environmental impact report vote, was saying you can move oh, the port will still be there. They can move to Outer Harbor, which is a section of the port, but we're already using that section. And even if you wanted to build it up for more container operations, you'd have to put in new cranes. You'd have to retrofit the dock over there. It says they can go over there. That's basically what the mayor's saying, when she was talking to the news a couple of weeks ago. And it just really stinks. It really stinks because 70% of our work is on the estuary there.
Is there anything else to add?
Well, I mean, it helps if you ask questions. It's so much, right? There's so many aspects to this. I think it's like I did mention briefly that the community benefits part of it, they promised for community benefits and they really didn't come through. Most of the people that I know worked on that process were unhappy with it. There was a promise of affordable housing. They really didn't come through on that. Man. Yeah, it's just, I think, the politicians of Oakland are in John Fisher's pocket and they're really selling us out. And it's unfortunate they're using the A's as leverage. But how else are you going to get $1.355 billion out of a city?
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of that money, that other $500 million, would be some state funds, a couple $100 million of it. But still, we'll go back to the Raiders, right? It just came out recently, a detailed report in the San Jose Mercury News. I could get that report for you, but they detailed how the Raiders were let off the hook for their $100 million. And basically let the Raiders leave and left Oakland in debt for $100 million. And we still owe that. The city still owes that. It's not going anywhere. And when the Warriors left the Coliseum, they left a $40 million bill, and they had to. I'm not sure exactly. I think that they're on track to start paying it, but they had to go to court. The city had to go to court to get them to pay it, is my understanding. So these, if you look at, there's a John Oliver. He has this like news kind of casting comedy thing, but he has this one segment on stadiums in the United States, and it's just, this is a common thing across the board. Sports teams use their clout, the love of the public, to gouge cities for their very elaborate, beautiful stadium, lack of word, awesome stadiums that they build with just way too much public funds put into it.
Well, that's rough.
And we've seen this kind of thing happen up in, on another note, another reason why we're worried about the housing being built is we've seen this happen in other airport areas. Up in Portland, Seattle, they started building housing in the port, and it's really impacted the port operations.
All right. Well, Aaron Wright, I appreciate it. How can people find your website to learn more about what you guys are fighting for?
Well, we have eastoaklandstadium.com. I encourage people to go there. I encourage people to sign our petition to keep the A's and keep them in the Coliseum site. Right now, we're working with the teachers of Oakland, and they're trying to sell a dozen schools off. So we're starting an alliance with bringing them into an alliance to push the city to do the right thing by Oakland and fund our public schools, take care of our homeless, and take care of our port, and act responsible in stewardship of our city. So eastoaklandstadiumalliance.com. Please sign the petition, and you can keep up with our activities there.
All right. Well, Aaron, I appreciate your time. Maybe we'll have you back on as things develop.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you very much for having me on.
Sure thing. Have a great day. All right.
Right on. Have a good one. Take care.
See you, Aaron. That was Aaron Wright. from the East Oakland Stadium Alliance. It's a tricky thing out there. I haven't grown up there. It's been a long time for me, but it's kind of hard. I've said before the A's and the Raiders situations were a little different. I think the Raiders didn't want to stay. The city couldn't afford them, didn't want them. There's a bad blood when they returned. And the NFL saw dollar signs in Las Vegas. So this is a little different, and it would absolutely tear me up to see my hometown team leave Oakland. Look, it's an old stadium. It's one of those that it might be a dump, but you know what? It's our dump. And that's kind of how I felt about it being a kid way back when, 40 plus years ago, going to watch those great A's teams of the 70s, the World Series champions and whatnot. So thanks again, Aaron Wright, and we'll keep updated on what's going on out in the East Bay. Hey, let's go around the world. Number one, Coach K is his last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium Saturday, and I was covering a college hockey game, and I got to be honest with you, when I heard the final score, I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Go Tar Heels. Enjoyed it. Hashtag Duke sucks. That's the way it goes. Okay. Deep breath. Deep breath. Major League Baseball. You talk about trying to find new ways to invent and screw things up. The owners and the players, including John Fisher, just keep finding different ways to do it. Talks were positive a week ago, then they fell apart. And now it's just getting even worse. And what bothers me is I've always said I'm not pro player, I'm not pro owner, I'm pro baseball fan, right? But the players right now, to me, don't look all that good. Okay, they would not go to arbitration. Wasn't going to be binding. Just going to be a mediator coming in to help them along. They said no to that. The owners added $15 million to the salary cap, and when they said they wouldn't do it, they've given in on that. They've given in on the minimum salaries. The players don't appear to be bending in any area, and that to me is troublesome. Last year, World Series time, I felt that there wasn't going to be a baseball season this year. I feel so even more now. You got to remember, this is a group of owners and a group of players that they struggled in 2020 to put together a 60-game COVID season. Do you know how bad that is, PR-wise, the optics of it? When the country was dying for some sort of normalcy. They could barely even get together for that. These groups, they don't like each other, they don't trust each other, and they sure as hell don't bargain very well together. And Max Scherzer, I like watching Max Scherzer pitch, but you start hearing reports out of these negotiation sessions that Max Scherzer is just pissing people off. And it's one thing to have an opinion. It's two to handle it the proper way, especially when you're negotiating. The other problem I have with this, and I'm going to go back to bashing the owners, you have a block of owners. I don't think they care if they play or not. I think some teams actually make more money if they don't play. So when you have to have 23 owners to vote for a bargaining agreement, you have a block of owners, cheap ones, financially challenged, okay, in Miami, in Oakland, in Baltimore. Artie Moreno is not in favor of anything, and he's down in Anaheim, and he can't build a winning team down there. My problem is I don't think these people are baseball fans. You have to have a passion. Look, I'm a business owner. I've been in the accounting industry for almost 30 years. I get it. You want to make a buck. That's up to the owners, and they should make all the money they can. They can pick it up through advertising. They have other revenues. I don't care. You want to put 14 teams in the playoffs and give them a couple more bucks? Fine. Okay. But you have to give something back to the game. You have to be a baseball fan. You have to care about the game and have a passion for it. Okay. I'm not so sure it's really there on both ends. I think the players are more interested. Again, go make your money. It's okay. It's all good. Right? Maximize your earning potential, but not for the poorness of the game. And the players want a $238 million salary cap. Guess how many teams were at the salary cap? I saw this the other night. How many teams were at the salary cap limit last year before? Some might have gone over. 4. Okay. You can raise that cap to 238. Not everyone's going up there. People might say, well, Hal Steinbrenner is going to stand there as a Yankee owner. Hal Steinbrenner might have in his own mind the 220 is his max. I don't care if the floor is 230 or the cap is 238, 250, whatever. He might say 220 is my number. So there is a thought you raise the cap and a couple teams go up and now everyone's got to go with them. I don't know that that's in play here because of the bullshit ownership in Pittsburgh, in Oakland. I'm going to pick on him again because he aggravates me. That I don't think they care. And my biggest problem is I haven't heard anything about a salary floor in this entire negotiation. And that's where the problem is in Major League Baseball. Okay, so I'm irritated. I don't think there's going to be a season. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it. So anyway, now that we're through that, just get to a little more of my world. Some picks coming up for the week. For those that don't know, I'm a Division I college hockey beat writer here in the Albany, New York area. Cover the ECAC hockey for 12 years now. Quarterfinals coming up this week. I think Quinnipiac's going to take down St. Lawrence, top seed. Clarkson will take Union in 2. Union had a really nice weekend against Princeton, but Clarkson's just a better team. Upset out in Western New York, Central New York. Colgate will take down Cornell. And RPI, the team I cover, they won a gut check of Game 3 yesterday at home against Dartmouth. They're heading to Harvard, different animal. Harvard and Dartmouth are 2 different programs. I like the way the Engineers are playing. I like the way they're playing defense. Harvard came in here about 10 days ago and blasted RPI in its last regular season game. RPI just clinched home ice, had nothing to play for. I'm going to pull the upset. I don't think I'm being a homer because it's a team I cover. I like RPI in 3. RPI beat Harvard 2-0 in Cambridge earlier this year. That's going to do it for the pit. Next week, we're going to be talking brackets. Brackets. College basketball brackets come out on Sunday, and we're going to hop in there and deal with that next week and see who may come away with a national championship. Cutting down the nets in April. So thanks again, folks, for joining us. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for joining Pugsley's Pit, and we will see you all next week.